All right. Well, I'm pretty excited today. So I'm joined with my former colleague at Deloitte and a friend of mine and one of my coaching clients, Nancy, today. Um, Ever since I left Deloitte 6 years ago to go into what I call the self-change management business, I've been telling stories of self-change management. Mostly it's been my story. So I actually wrote a book about it. So it's called, for those of you who aren't familiar, it's called Mondays Don't Have to Suck: How Small Changes Can Make a Huge Difference. In a second, Nancy's going to tell you how some small changes in her life made a big difference as well. And along during this time, I've been hearing all these great stories on self-change management from other clients and colleagues and friends of mine. So I came up with the ideas is sharing some of these stories. So I'm calling this my self-change management champion. So you're right, my superheroes. So Nancy, you're the guinea pig for today. You're the first one, my first superhero. And when I think of health and wellness, it's definitely you're the one that I think of as a superhero. We've known each other for a while now. We've been doing the coaching as well, and you've just gone through just the challenges that you've gone through from a health perspective. It's just incredible, and how you were able to just keep going and keep going and keep going, and just a great story. So I'm going to ask you if you'd like to share your story with everybody. And now you're actually going out there and starting your own coaching practice and paying it forward later on a little bit to share, what are some of the other things that you can help other people out with. I'm sure there's a bunch of others out there who are kind of going through some of the same challenges as you. So without further ado, I am going to pass it over to you.
Well, thanks, Dave, for having me. I'm pretty excited to be here with you and be the first to have this kind of conversation with you. And yeah, health and wellness is often, I'll say a taboo subject. People don't really talk about, the difficulties they're going through. And often, and that's been my experience, you're kind of left to yourself to figure things out. It can be a pretty lonely and frustrating road. And for me, my health issues are all around digestive health. I was born with lactose intolerant and gluten intolerant. For the first 6 months of my life, I spent crying and yelling because my belly was so bloated because of the milk and the cereals that I was eating, and I was hospitalized twice. Before the age of 6 months old to for my parents and the doctors to figure out what was wrong with me. And for the first 2 years of my life, I was on a special diet, to remove gluten and dairy. And then, interestingly enough, a new doctor said to my mom, "Oh no, this child doesn't have any issues. You can feed her, anything. There's no problem." So my mom reintroduced gluten and dairy. And as a child, I didn't have any problem with it anymore. I could eat, bread, I could eat cheese, all good, until my late teens, early 20s, where the digestive issues came back. And for me, it was bloating, gas, diarrhea. It was very, painful at times, especially the bloating. And I could, run to the bathroom because I had diarrhea. And throughout my 20s, those symptoms became more and more difficult to manage. I remember, my first job in the corporate world, I had a closed office, and sometimes would close the door and lock the door just to be able to lie down and, unbutton my pants because I was so bloated and I was in pain. Because, you become like a balloon, and, your pants, it's not only uncomfortable, it's painful because you have trapped gas in your colon, in your intestines. And I got to a point where, like having those gas and, the pain and the diarrhea. At 30, I went to see my doctor to talk about, my health history. And he said, well, if you were diagnosed with gluten intolerance and, lactose intolerance as a baby, maybe you should try taking those out of your diet and let's see what happens. And so I did that. And within 2 weeks, all my symptoms went away. No more bloating, no more diarrhea, no more pain. I was like, why didn't anybody tell me this before? And it was like a revelation for me at that point. So from the time I was 30 years old, for the next 15 years until I was 45, things were pretty good. I felt pretty good. I still had sometimes some issues, but I could manage my symptoms pretty well until I hit 45. And at 45, I had a pretty nasty gut bug. I was hospitalized for 24 hours because I was so dehydrated, because I was so sick. And my gut was never the same after that. And I started to kind of see a decline in my digestive health. So bloating came back, the pain came back. And for the first time in my life, I started to experience constipation, which I knew, the opposite. I knew diarrhea. I didn't know constipation. So I was like, what's going on? And so what I started to do is take away some foods. It's like, okay, beans are giving me gas, so I took away the beans. I took away some vegetables that are more gas producing. I took away some other grains, and to the point where I was left with like a short list of food that I could eat, and that wasn't manageable either. So went to the doctor. Doctor said, all your tests are fine, you're good. It's like, well, I understand it's fine, but I'm not fine. I'm not feeling well. So I decided to work with a nutritionist at the time, who tried to help me reintroduce some food, but I still had a lot of pain and digestive issues and gas and constipation. So she referred me to a gastroenterologist, which he decided to go through a bunch of tests again. All those tests came back normal. He said, all is good. You can continue to work with the nutritionist. And I said, well, it's the nutritionist who sent me to see you because she doesn't know what to do with me anymore. So if I go back to her, what do we do? Right. So it was like, well, for me, there's nothing else I can help you with. All your tests are normal. And this is when I started to think about, having a better understanding of my body, of what my body needed, and who else could help me, and what else could I do to help myself.
And how old were you then? Sorry, when you decided that you wanted to have that?
I was 45, so
Wow.
a few years ago. And I think when you go to to your family doctor, to a nutritionist, to the gastroenterologist, and everybody is like, no, you're good. Your tests are, all fine. And you're kind of left, to figure it out on your own. And that's really where it's like, okay, I need to be the CEO of my health. I need to be the one in charge here, to educate myself, understand what's going on, find other resources, people, professional to help me figure out what's happening with me. Because right now, when I go to see the doctors, they don't have answers for me. Also around, so, if I, look at where I am today versus 2 years ago, another change that I made that I didn't realize would have so much impact on my health is to switch my birth control pill. So I was on a pill. I decided to change because most of the pills have lactose in it. I'm lactose intolerant. I'm dairy intolerant. And so when I went through, all my personal care product, all, the medication that I was taking to find out if they had gluten and lactose in it, I found that the pill had it. So I switched over to a ring. And to me, I've been on the pill, forever, since I was like 15, 16. So I didn't think twice about just switching from the pill to the ring. And I just, continue on with, the nutrition part of my healing. But it's only a year and a half later that I realized that the ring was not a good fit for me. And it's when I started that my digestive issues became worse. I had thyroid issues. I had issues also with my, like what we call brain fog. When you're a little bit in, you feel in the, you're not as sharp, as focused as you usually are. You have trouble concentrating. So I was experiencing that for the first time in my life, and I was always justifying everything because of my digestive issues. Because I was, having those trouble with, food and digestion, and I never, at the beginning, connected back to switching my birth control. I also lost weight because of that, which for me, I'm not a, I'm a petite woman, so I didn't have like the 15 pounds to lose. And so I was looking, at myself declining, with the digestive issues, the thyroid, the weight loss, the brain fog. And I was like, what is going on? What am I going to do, to stop this decline and get back into, a space where I feel good in my body and I feel well again. So when I realized that I needed to take, control of my health and become the CEO of my health, that's where I decided to get a training as a wellness coach, because I wanted to have better knowledge of, what contributes to wellness, to being well. And although I was already doing a lot of things on the nutrition front, I chose a wellness coach program because I wanted to learn also about lifestyle. So, moving your body, your sleep, managing your stress, all of those have an impact on your gut as well. And so I wanted to have a holistic approach to my healing. And that's really also where I was exposed to other form of healing. So, for example, functional medicine, which is a practice of understanding why you're being sick. You see the conventional doctors and they'll look at the symptoms, they pose a diagnostic and give you a pill, right? When you work with a functional medicine practitioner, they'll say, okay, these are your symptoms. Why do you have those symptoms? When did they start? What was happening in your life? What's the root cause? And let's work on that. Let's not just work on the symptoms, let's work on that. And I found a clinical nutritionist who was a functional medicine practitioner. So I kind of onboarded him on my wellness team, if you will.
Good for you.
Yeah.
A little
and
proactive
so
there, CEO.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, if I'm the CEO, who is sitting around the table, to help me with my health. So he was a key, key component of me getting back into, into a state of health. So, with my, education that I got for myself, with his knowledge, and I needed my family doctor to get some blood tests and things like that. And I could advocate now for myself when I went to see my doctor, explaining why we wanted to do certain blood tests with my nutritionist. And when he wasn't on board, to really kind of make the case for myself of why it was so important to get him on board. And so I felt a lot of, what's the word I'm looking for? Instead of just going to the doctor and just do what the doctor is telling you, I felt more in a position to have a conversation with the doctor about my health and advocate what I needed, and for him to understand where I was coming from. And so I think there's a lot of power in that, where, when you're not feeling well, to be able to, understand, what you're going through, and to be able to express that, to your doctor and get him, to work with you on what you feel is important for your own health, and not just blindly follow, a prescription, whether it's, a medication or other prescriptions. So I think the bottom line for me is, as I got more educated, as I got, the right people around the table to help me, and I started to make some changes in my nutrition and my lifestyle to manage my stress, to move more. It took 2 years of pain and, frustration, managing the ups and downs of feeling well, and then, going to a period where it wasn't going well, to, understanding that the pill had a big influence on me, taking that away. And since I took the pill away, my health has been coming, back. I feel more energized. The digestive health is, really, really good. Like, all the symptoms are almost gone. I feel a lot of energy. I was sharing with you, I feel like somebody like switched, the lights back on. My focus is there, my energy is there, my clarity is there. So it is a journey. There is no quick fix. There's no magic pill. There's no superfood that you can take and that's it. Everything is resolved. It is a process and a journey that you need to keep going, to understand what you need, understand who needs to be around you to help you do that, and to implement those changes one step at a time, as you're, understanding more and more what you need. A lot of people look at, how I eat now, and, I walk every day, I do yoga, I do meditation, and they tell me, I don't have time to do that. I could never do what you do. And, I didn't start day one doing all of that, right? So I started with nutrition, and then, I started, then I added a walk, and then I added yoga, and then added, meditation along the way, right? As I was building, my health practices, and I was seeing results slowly, I was building, that new lifestyle to support my health. And I think that's an important message for me to get across is, you need to make changes, one at a time, and slowly over time, for this to be sustainable and to be, to have this new lifestyle that will support you, and not to give up, and not think because you're having a setback in your symptoms that you're doing something wrong. You just need to, trust your body and continue to do your small step every day to get you, to that place where you'll feel good again.
Well, kudos to you for continuing and doing all those steps. Like, you've had that for a long time, and it is something that a lot of people aren't familiar with. I'm not familiar with it just because I don't, here we are talking about something, bloating and constipation and diarrhea, not the type of conversations one has with a lot of people. So this is really giving me an appreciation, my God, to actually be having to close your door and unzip your pants. It's that uncomfortable. It's like, wow. So the suffering that people are going through. You talked about going out there. I like the, we'll get back to this in a sec, having the CEO and surrounding yourself, the CEO of your health, and surrounding yourself with the right people. You talked about going out there and educating yourself and the power that you had when you were actually in there talking with the doctors and all that. And, I like telling you, my background's accounting. I don't know anything in the medical profession, but to just right now, I'm thinking, just to go out there and do some Google searches and stuff. Next time I go for a health thing, I think I'm going to feel a lot more comfortable, a lot more powerful as well as that. And one thing that I don't know if people get enough an appreciation for sometimes, and as we were coaching, I remember you were talking, keep at it, like you're doing small steps, keep moving forward. Yes. There's times where you're doing steps backwards, or there's times where you can't move as well. I remember there'd be times, say, Dave, like, I've been lying down for the last 3 days, like we can't have our call right now. So to just keep going with all of that, when people are saying, just read this book and you'll be cured, or take this course for a week type of thing. I think the appreciation I've had from you is just how much going out there. And I like how you said, it's left to yourself to figure it out. So kudos to you. It's unfortunate that people have to go figure that stuff out. You think people would know that, and the doctors and healthcare professionals, but kudos for you for going out there and educating yourself about that. So here's my question to you. You know, for other people who are going through this and experiencing this, and they decide, okay, I'm becoming CEO of myself as well, who should they be surrounding themselves with?
Well, for me, what I found the most, the most useful was having, like I said, my nutritionist who is, yes, a nutritionist, but a functional medicine practitioner. So for the people watching or listening, Google functional medicine practitioner, just to have a better understanding. Like I said, it's really for them the approach of understanding your symptoms, but then, kind of going back into your history to say, when did this start? What was happening? What is the root cause? And when you have a functional medicine practitioner, his goal is to work on the root cause, not just on the symptoms. And unfortunately, when you go see your family doctor or more conventional healthcare practitioner, they have like 10-15 minutes with you. They don't have time to do that, right? So you go there, you say what your symptoms are, and then they'll give you a prescription. And so having somebody who has the time to kind of work backwards with you in your timeline and understanding what's the root cause is it's key to resolve your issues, right? And to find a resolution and feeling better going forward. So a functional medicine practitioner, I think that's great. Naturopath as well, are well versed in natural therapies, and are often have often that approach too, to kind of understand the root cause. So I think if you want to look outside of conventional medicine, those are kind of two good resources. And then it's really educating yourself, right? There's so many good books that are available out there. And if I can, I can share, one book. I think if people are interested, it's the first book that I bought to educate myself, which I have here. It's The Health Habit from Elizabeth Ryder. So for people to, you can Google her. And what I liked about that book, and why I chose that book to start my own education, it's because she talks about nutrition, sleep, movement, and managing your stress. Because those are the kind of 4 pillars of health, right? Everything boils down to to those 4 pillars. And so it's a really well-written book. It's got a 28-day plan with different recipes on on eating healthy, lots of plants and fiber in your diet to manage your your digestive health. So it's a really good good book to start with.
So if people would like to connect with you, so I appreciate you sharing some of those other people around the CEO table and the book. And I know you've shared a lot with me as well. And, we were talking beforehand, some of the books for my daughter, she gets to the point where she'll be exploring birth control, that, I should go out there as a father, as a male, to understand what some of those repercussions are as well, to go out there and get educated as CEO dad. If people would like to connect with you and explore some of these things differently, if they want to have you, if there's some CEOs out there who'd like to have you around their table, how do they get in touch with you? How do they connect with you and share some of your resources?
Yeah, well, I wanted to help myself first, but with everything that I've learned now, I want to help others, right? Because I know how it is, how frustrating it is to be left, to your own device to figure it out, and to try to navigate, the internet is daunting because there's so many, information out there. And so I've set up, like you said, my own coaching business. I've worked with clients, on nutrition and, managing their gut health. And so I'll work one-on-one with people on different aspect of their gut health. They can connect with me on my website. So it's nancymichelcoaching.com. And they can also connect with me on Instagram or Facebook. I post a lot of, free resources on there, share tips on, gut health as well. So if people, want to know what I'm all about and my style, they can certainly have a quick peek through my social Instagram and Facebook.
That's great. So I want to again thank you very much. Again, being the guinea pig, being my first superhero to go in here, and also for just being so vulnerable. Like, I don't remember ever having a conversation. So we were talking about bloating and constipation and diarrhea, and they're tough things to talk about, right? And then people they just suffer in silence. So
they do.
I guess that's part of my talk. One of my takeaways is just, to being able to share some of those with other people is kind of key. The whole part about me going out there and better educating myself, whether it's something that I'm dealing with or one of my kids are dealing with or somebody else. I remember one of my, there was a woman in my life before she suffered from a lot of this stuff too. And I never really thought of spending the time to understand what she was going through. So again, I appreciate all that, and I appreciate you coming. And thank you very much, Nancy. Anything else you want to add before we go?
Well, thanks for having me, Dave. It was great to connect with you, and kind of give people the opportunity to learn from different journey and transformation. So thanks for having me.
Cool. Well, thanks. Bye, Nancy.
Bye.